All right, so let's proceed now with our lecture. So what I'm going to present right now is the Google Colab. No? So in order to access Google Colab, the first thing that you will do, of course, is to um, the first thing that you would do is to basically go to Google. Okay, so if you are now in Google, as you can see, I'm going to type here Google Colab. Sorry for the wrong spelling. Yeah. Okay. So while you're in Google Colab, you can see now that the first link that will appear, the first link, click mo lang yon, and it says welcome to Collaboratory Google. All right, so click lang natin siya, and then it will open up something for you. No, make sure that you are signed in using your Google account. No, so you can use your TIP email to sign in for a Google account. No, so I already have a file here. It's a notebook. It's called the Google Colab Notebook, and the extension of the file is IPyNB. And what is IPyNB? That's the extension file for the Python notebook. All right. So this is what we call a cheat sheet. It talks about and it discusses about the different things that you need to understand about the notebook. Okay, so I'm going to open it. Okay, and it will bring you to this page. As you can see, it's a cheat sheet for Google Colab, and it's a tutorial to learn how to make the most out of the Google Colab. Maybe because it's your first time to access the Google Colab, so you can see that there are a lot of things that you need to understand here. For example, what are these commands? Menu commands here. We have the file, the edit, the view, insert, runtime tools, and the help. And also, we have here a button if you want to insert a code, and a button if you want to insert a text. And you can also copy this notebook to your drive, no? Automatically, this will be saved to your drive if you click this one. And here, on the left side of your screen, this is what we call the table of contents. Okay, you can see here the table of contents of your notebook. You can also search for anything on your notebook, and you can also use code snippets. Now, I'm not going to discuss about code snippets, but basically this can be used for your notebook as well. No? You can also see a lot of things here, like for example, if you want to check about your variables that you have inserted on your notebook, your variables can be inspected here. What happens to the variable that you set? Are your variables change or not? Something like that. And if you're going to click this one, these are what we call the files, no? The files allow you to connect to your Google Drive, okay? And it can allow you to browse something on your Google Drive. But as long as you mount your drive, so this is a different case. If you mount your drive, you will be asked to authenticate your account. No? Authenticate means you'll need to sign in using your Google account. And then after that, you will be asked to copy and paste a code that they are going to send to your screen. Now, we're not going to do that because uh, we already have what we have, what we need. All right, so I close that part. And here you can see that this is the connection to a Python engine. Okay, the Python engine allows us to run Python codes. So if in case na hindi pa connected, because you can be connected, you can be disconnected sometimes, no? But you need to basically click this, And as you can see, I am now connected to Python 3 Google Compute Engine backend. And Google is giving me some resources, such as they have given me 0.81 gigabytes of RAM. That's my current use. And I'm also using 12.69 gigabyte of disk. And that's the RAM, no? You see the RAM usage, Google has given us around 12 gig of RAM and 107.72 gigabyte of hard disk space. That's a lot, no? So this is a simple machine. It's a computer that Google has allow us to lease or to rent, no, for free, no? So we can use it for free to edit something, to play something, to discuss something, to execute something on this notebook. So by the way, in your notebook, there are two types of cells. Now, every cell that you will see, you know, you can have a code. So if I click a code, you can see that the code is different from a normal text page. So this is a normal text page, the first one that you see. If I double click this area, so this is what we call a text cell. In a text cell, there is what we call the edit area and the output area. So if you double click the output area, it will eliminate the edit area. If you double click the output area, so it will return back to the edit area. So from the edit area, you can edit many things here. No, for example, I can write here, cheat sheet for Google Colab for, as you can see, it's doing it on live, no, for OOP students. You can see now that it has changed to cheat sheet for Google Colab for OOP students. And in this tutorial, you will learn how to make the most out of your Google Colab. So I'm going to double click this one. So if I wish to add another text, no, clicking this one, and I wish to add a text, I can click this part here, this button here, plus text, and you can see that this is the text here. So I can write anything here. Hi, everyone. Okay, and this will be displayed here. If I double click this one, you can see that it is now written here. Hi, everyone. And below that, you will see I already added a code cell. A code cell is where we write our Python codes. And this play button here is where we can execute our Python code. For example, I'm going to print hello world, because that's the basic syntax, no? So if I'm going to click that and then press enter, so that's going to be hello world. So that this is the output. This is the code cell, and below that you will see the output, as you can see. All right. So what is Google Colab? Google Colab is an amazing tool, and it lets you build, execute outstanding data science model. Don't worry about these terms here. No, data science is more advanced, but basically you can do a lot of things using Google Colab, especially using Python codes. No, and Google Colab provides you code cells, as I mentioned, and you can also see a lot of text cells here. No, so in this tutorial we will focus more on the text cell. Because this is a cheat sheet, it's just an instruction on how you're going to use your Google Colab, right? So you can see from here that the cheat sheet here will discuss some tricks and shortcuts that you can use to become a pro in documenting. So if you are familiar with Markdown, XML and HTML coding, then it's going to be easy for you, no? But if you are not familiar, it's very easy naman to understand. Google Colab supports Markdown and HTML documentation. So if you want to experiment, for example, uh, in the heading, it's very easy, no? So if you want a heading, if you want your output to look like this, no? For example, here, you have to use a hashtag and the heading name. So the more you append the number sign size, the size will decrease. So you can see that the biggest size is the heading one with a single hashtag. But if you add more hashtags, it's going to be smaller. You can also use HTML codes. Now, for example, H1, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, until heading 6. You can also use bold. No? For example, here, the bold here is a double stars. If you insert a double star to a word, it's going to be bold. You can also use, in HTML kasi, di ba, we use the command B, and then we close it using a backslash B, all right, to close it. So italicized naman is just a single asterisk to make your text italicized. And you can also use the I symbol just like in the HTML. The strike through is somehow sometimes we use strike through to basically put an emphasis on a word. So we can use a symbol like this. I don't know what this symbol is, but basically you can try to use that, you know, in between your word that you would like to strike out, you know, or to strike through. You can use this symbol, or you can use the S in HTML. Okay? So, yan po yung ano. And then you can do a lot of combinations, no? In a particular sentence like this, you can use the bold. This is the bold, and then this one is bold with italics, and then this one is a strike through. So you can use that, and you can also do that the same using an HTML symbol like this. How do you create a list? In HTML, it's very easy to create a list, right? It's also easy to create it in Markdown or in a cell like this, no? For example, you can just type the number and then followed by a period and then a space. Just put a space and it will automatically create an ordered list. No? An ordered list is somehow numbered, and an unordered list are lists without numbers. Okay? Something like that. No? So you can use a single asterisk here and a space, and then you put your list after that. That's going to create a list something like this. All right, but in HTML, you can do that using the symbol OL. OL means ordered list, and list item number 1, list item number 2, and list item number 3. And you can close it using the backslash ordered list. Now, if you're gonna use a type, so you can use the attribute type here and put 1, so that you can use a list that is ordered using the numbered list. But you can also use the type as letter A. That means its list is used as in alphabetically arranged, no? Like in this case, no, A, B, C. Also, you can also use small letters. So you can use the type as small letter here. And if you want to use the Roman numerals, you can use the type as letter I, capital letter I, and it will create an ordered list of 1, 2, 3, and so on as a the Roman numerals. So small Roman numerals is small letter I. But if you're gonna create an unordered list, you can see here that it's not OL, we are using now UL because it's an unordered list. You can also use the type disk inside the UL tag so that you can create a disk-shaped list. Okay, you can also create a circle type. You can see the difference between the two. The first one is like a disk. That means it has a fill-in color on the button. However, here there is no fill-in color here. You can also use a square-shaped list similar to this. And you can also use a none, no? Meaning your list will not have anything, no point, no circle, no square. If you put the type as none. You can also create a description list similar to this, no? If you want your output to look like this, so you have to follow this. As well as the nested list, no? Sometimes we use a nested list typically like this. So for example, things that I do in a normal day: to eat pancake, fruit, or yogurt, to code Python or HTML and CSS, and sleep for 5 hours, something like that. For the controlled list, you can do something like this. Now, if you want to start your numbering to 10, you can start the ordered list to start at 10. And then you can create your list within the list. No? So you can specify and you can control your listing based on this example. So if you want to learn, you can use this cheat sheet in order to follow the following. Now, if you want to put something like this, no, you would like to create a hyperlink. This is a text with a hyperlink, meaning it is connected to another reference, so hyperlink reference, or we call it sometimes a link, just a link, typical link. So you can follow this code here. So you have to use the open and close square brackets, and inside that are the texts that you would like to appear on your link. But after that, you need to put in between the open and close parentheses the proper link of the reference, no, that you would like to have. There is also another way. This is also the same. No? This is a simple example, no, where you can combine some text. But basically, this one is similar to this. All right? For HTML, we can do that using an HTML code. So this is also the same. The output here is the same as here. But the codes are different, no? Because this one is following the markdown style, but this one is following the HTML. You can combine nga pala the markdown and HTML. No? It doesn't matter as long as you are getting what you want for your output. Like for example here, the attribute href means hyperlink reference, which is equal to this link, and it's enclosed using a string or a double quote, provided it's considered to be a string. And after that, it is followed by the link. Now, the link is the click here to read more Python tutorials. That's going to be the words that will be that will have the link. So you can use that to create a link. You can also insert an image. No, for example, here for Markdown, you can see here that before the open and close square brackets, there is a what do you call this symbol? Exclamation point. No, an exclamation point, and then you can put an alternate text. You can put anything here, no, just to describe your image, and you can put the link of your image. No, it can be from a local source or an online source. Okay. So here, this message or this image was inserted, right? Another thing is you can see here that we can actually use HTML to do that. No, so this one is different. No, we use the image source, which is equal to this image here. So it's basically easy, no? So gagamitin mo lang yung image. For example, I'm going to search for a particular image here. So I found an image of myself in the internet, and I'm going to copy the image link, and I'm going to give you an example of that here. So you can see that if I try to copy this somewhere here, siguro, I'm going to copy it here. I'm just going to copy this one, no? This code here. So, for example, I have an alternate text here. All right. So basically, this is the inside this. I'm going to place my link. This is the link of the file. Sorry. Hi. So I did not copy the. Wait lang ha. Puntahan ko muna yung page. Okay. So I cannot copy it because the page was not available. Okay. Okay, let me see. Let me see kung ito pwede. Okay, so ayan. So, meron kayang okay. So, I don't know kung magde-display to dito sa ating output, but let me see. Hindi siya nag-display, no? So, hindi siya nag-display properly because maybe something's wrong with it, no? But basically, ito yung ginawa natin. We just use similar, but you can use other images if we want, no? Like this image here. Maybe this will display. I don't know how. Or maybe, oh, it's different, no? You see, you have to look at any image that you want, no? And the image should have a proper link. So, like in this case, hindi siya proper. So, hindi siya magdi-display properly. See? So, hanap tayo na ibang image. Oh, this one I think is okay. Oh. Oh, this is not an image. Okay, anyway, if you have an image and if you wish to put that image in your HTML or your Google Colab, it's better. So these are all the things that you can basically use. No? But for the formatting naman ng codes, no, if you would like to format your codes, no, you can use an inline code, something like this. No, for example, to print anything in Python, we can use print. For example, print something like that. It will print Python is the best programming, right? Something like that. But we're not talking about code cells yet, no? We are talking about the text. If you want to highlight your syntax, you can also follow the followings. You can see some symbols here are placed here, no, before the words. Okay, and you can see here that the syntaxes are highlighted, so just like this. And also we can use some types of highlighting. This is the Python style, this is the JavaScript style, and this is the C programming syntax highlighting. You can also create a table. No? This is the way we can create a table in a uh, in a markdown language such as the Google Colab. But we can also follow the way we can create using HTML codes. No? Ito yung code natin to create a table. We use the table syntax, but we need to close it as well. No? So meron tayong headers at meron tayong details. For every rows, may details tayo. Indentations. No? So meron din tayong indentations. No? If you want to indent your text, so you can use this symbol here. As you can see, this is a greater than symbol or less than symbol here. That means you are indenting the text that you would like to present, no, to give an emphasis, for example, no, or to give something like a note, something like this, no. Yan. You can also use the HTML format. Now it's a block quote. The block quote means you are providing something to put some emphasis. No? For a ruler, like if you want to make a line, you can use the HR symbol, HTML, but you can use the triple minus sign. This is a minus sign or a triple dash sign. To justify your text, okay? So this is an example of a text before justification. This is the output. But you can also align it. Now you can see here the alignment of the paragraph is equal to justify. So your text now will be displayed as justified. It's better than this one, right? You can also create some line breaks. So in HTML, we can use BR. BR means double break. All right. You can also create mathematical formulas. No? So you can see here that this is a symbol for alpha, phi, gamma, and pi. And you can also create some equations here. You can see here that the use of the dollar symbol is always important. It always starts with the dollar symbol, and it starts with this forward slash symbol. So since this is an equation with division, so it's basically a fraction. You can see here that this is the symbol of the numerator is enclosed. It's inside this curly brackets, and another curly bracket denotes the denominator, and it is closed by a dollar symbol. So you can see here that this is the symbol to that. All right. So this one is this one. And you can see a lot of examples. No, you can also check some examples of this in the internet. All right. Okay. So much for that. I'm now going to create a new notebook here. So basically, may notebook na ako dito sa aking drive. So I'm just gonna siya nga pala, itong Google Sheet na to, I can share it with you. So, or you can actually, kahit hindi ko i-share to, makikita nyo to sa internet, no? Just search for Google Sheet for Google Colab. And you can download this automatically. It will be open on your browser. But this notebook that I'm using now, so let me open it here. Itong notebook ko na to, so let me copy this notebook. So dito pa lang tayo mag-start ng lesson natin. Sorry. Since it's the first day naman, it's okay naman siguro to extend some time. No? So I'm going to open my file here. Where is my file? Oh, I'm using a different account here. Sorry. So this one. So I will just share this notebook to you. So I'm going to share it to anyone who has TIP email. So lahat lang ng may TIP email ang makakagamit nito. Okay, so I'm going to switch my tab using this notebook here. This is a blank notebook, by the way, but you can see that if I'm going to share it, I'm going to share it using the chat box. Okay, so you can open it using Google Colab. It's now being shared. So anything that I do will be reflected on your part, no? All right, so let's begin. This is the module 1 OOP. You can save it later and let's discuss about some things here. Now, this is module 1, so I can write here. So maybe I can write here. So where is my mouse? Yan. So I can create a text here. Okay, so let me put this up. Okay, so I'm going to write something here. That this is our module 1 notebook for OOP, right? So I'm gonna write here by Engineer Jonathan. All right, so I guess okay na yan as a simple notebook, no? So below that, I have something here called a code cell. The code cell is the kind of cell where you can print something. No? The first thing that you need to understand is if you're going to use a hashtag here, it's going to create something like a comment. No? So sa Python, the way we comment things is by putting a symbol hashtag before the word. For example, print hello. And you can see that this is different from print and then hello. You can see the colors are different. No? If you have a hashtag here, this is a comment. No, this is a comment actually. But this one has no comment. So if you're gonna execute that, the comment will be ignored by the compiler. The same as in C++, right? Now it's now connected. Sorry for waiting. Yeah, you see that the only thing that has been executed here is this one below. No, so let me make it different. Hello OOP students. All right. So sorry for that. So let me execute it again. So you will know the difference between the two. All right. So let us first understand some things. Now, for example, the first lesson that we will understand is about Python variables. Okay. So what are the variables that we need to understand in Python? Okay. So in Python, we have variables such as integers. No? So variable is a named location, as you understood from your programming logic and design course. It's a named location which is used to store data in the memory. No? It's a common container that we usually place inside our computer. What are the things that you need to understand about variables? It has a name. You can change the name. And there is a proper way on how to name your variables, right? So if you're gonna create a variable, your variable can start in any alphabetic character, but you cannot start your variable with a number, okay? You can also start with any special symbol, like for example, an underscore symbol. You can use that to name a variable, but definitely not a number, okay? So in C language pala, no, if you remember, we set a variable like this. No, for example, I have this is in C++. In C++, we usually declare variable like this. No, we usually declare a variable something like int int number is equal to 25, and then we put a semicolon, right? That is in C language, no? Or something like this. We can use a double for a particular variable, and we use something like that. All right? Or we can use something like this in C language, no? A character. Char, we use the symbol char, and the name is equal to something like this. Right? But in Python, it's very simple, no? If you want to declare a variable, just use number. So it's equal to number, and then the number, you place the number. For example, you have 27, and no need to put semicolon. So you can print that number, you can print that variable, as you can see, and now you can execute it. And then you can see that the number was printed as this one, no? The content of the variable number is 27. So when we try to print number, it printed 27 here. That's basically Python. It's very easy to understand and learn. So it's the same with any number, no? So the number could be, for example, we have another number here. We provide, for example, 98.78. This is a float, right? So if we print the number again, so if we print that, it's going to print 98.78. So in Python, it doesn't matter if you use an integer or a float or a double. No? It automatically detects the type of integer or the type of data that you are using. For example, if I'm going to use a simple character, so for example, X, or we say the grade is equal to the character A. So if I print the grade, sorry, it should be inside the parentheses. So by the way, print is a function, no? Print is a built-in function in Python, and every function should be followed by an open and close parentheses. And inside that, you put the parameter, like the variable, you place the variable here, you can place the parameter, or you can use another function placed inside that parameter, and later you'll understand that. So if I try to execute that, so it's going to output A. So that's very simple, no? So we use to declare some variables. So we declared an integer, a float, a character. What about if we try to use name? Okay, so that's a string character, right? A string is a combination of characters. So basically, we can also print that. As you can see, if I try to print this, so Jonathan was printed here. So that's basically some example of Python. No? So basically, ang Python kasi, if we try to understand Python better, it's a dynamic and high-level free open source to, no? Itong Python, no? It's a free open source and interpreted programming language. And basically, it supports object-oriented programming as well as procedural-oriented programming. No? So in Python, we don't need to declare the type of variable because it's dynamically typed language. So someone raised his hand. Yes, Mr. Christian Sembrero. Anything you would like to share to us? You can use the microphone if you want. Para mabilis. Sir, magkaiba po ba yung single quote and double quote? No. In Python, you can use a single quote for a character and a double quote for strings. Pero parehas lang yan actually, no? So, gusto mo malaman kung pwede rin. So, let's try, no? Halimbawa, I have a surname is equal to, single quote to, yan. And then I'm going to print it. Uy, sorry. Yan. Print natin siya kung gagana. So you can see gumana siya. So it doesn't matter if you use the double quote or the single quote. Okay, it is automatically, kaya nga I'm explaining that Python is a dynamically typed language, meaning na detect ni Python automatically what type of variable you have declared. No? Ikaw yung nag-declared, but Python will interpret or dynamically identify what you have typed. No? So for example, if I'm going to declare, for example, here as this is a variable, right? X is a common variable, and you put a number here. So basically, Python now will be able to understand that this is a, by the way, kahit na X lang pala yung ilagay nyo dito, without printing it, it will be automatically printed, no? So that's an example of how Python can do that, no? And there are many features of Python, no? First of all, Python is easy to code. It's a high-level programming language. It's very easy to learn the language because it's like an English language, no? You can easily understand it, no? Compared to other language like C, C#, JavaScript, Java. Python is very easy to code, no? And anybody can learn Python basics, no? In a few hours or days. It's basically developer-friendly language, no? When I was in college, wala pang Python before. I started to program using the basic C language, no? And then C++, and then Java, no? And then C#, no? But before I learned Python, I was already teaching, no, nung nag-start yung Python. So I started to study Python, and I discovered that Python is a uh, very easy to learn language. It's a developer friendly language, and Python can be downloaded freely. It's an open source programming language. You can download it from any given download link, no? So basically it's an open source, so meaning it's available to the public, so you can download it, you can use it as well as share it, no? And as I mentioned a while ago, it's an object-oriented language, meaning uh, it supports the concepts of classes, objects, encapsulations. It is also a language that allow you to create graphical user interfaces, no? Kasi may mga modules si Python na PyQt5, PyQt4, meron din siyang TK, meron din siyang WX Python. Yun yung mga ginagamit at PyQt5, no, which is the most popular option for creating graphical applications with Python. Also, Python is a high-level language. So meaning when we write programs in Python, we do not need to remember the system architecture, or we don't need to actually manage the memory of our computer. No? Automatically, since it's a high-level language, Python will do it for you. Also, Python is an extensible language, no? Meaning we can write Python code into C or C++ language, and we can compile the code. We can compile the Python code in C or C++ language. It's a portable language also, meaning, for example, if we have Python code for Windows, and if we want to run this code on Linux, Unix, or Mac operating system, we don't need to change anything, no? We can run this code on any platform. And Python is also an integrated language. So when you say integrated language, you can easily integrate Python with other languages such as C or C++. Python is also an interpreted language. Now, when you say interpreted language, the code is executed by line at a time. Okay? Like any other language, like C or C++ or Java. So there's no need to compile Python. So basically, it's easier to debug the code, no, using Python. The source code of Python is converted into an immediate form called bytecode. No, doon siya kinocode. Yun yung nagiging compilation niya. Python has a large standard library, no, which can provide us with different modules and functions, no, that we don't need to write, no. Meron na siya, no? So gagamitin mo na lang, i-call mo na lang yung mga functions na yon. There are many libraries present also in Python for regular expression, unit testing, web browser, even web browser or mobile development of applications. You can use a lot of libraries. So kanina sinabi ko na it's a dynamically typed language, means the variable is decided. No, when you declare a variable, it's decided at runtime in advance, no? Because and because of this feature, we don't need to specify the type of variable. Okay? So I think you have learned a lot about Python, so let's proceed with our discussion na, no? So basically, I already showed you that Python is a dynamically type of programming language, now that you don't need to actually identify the type of language that you will the type of variable that you're going to use. But this time, let me show you that Python can assign multiple values to multiple variables. Just like in C++, you can also do that. No? For example, variable A variable B and variable C can have values of 5, 3.2, and a string like hello, something like that. So meaning, if you try to print A, if you try to print A pala ganyan, and below you can try to print, sorry, nagkakamali ako ng type ng, so you have to check carefully your spelling, no? And your punctuation marks. So if I try to print this, so A is equal to 5, B is 3.2, and C is equal to hello respectively. All right? We can also do something like this. So let me add another code line here. So we can assign something like X is equal to Y is equal to Z and is equal to, for example, student. So if I try to print, copy ko na lang to siguro, no? If I try to print XYZ, so I'll just change the variable inside. This one should be X. This one should be Y. And this one should be Z. So if I try to print that, so you'll notice that all of them are equal to student. Okay? But that's how variables are in variable declaration in Python. So it's very easy to understand and learn. If there are variables, we also have what we call constants. No? So let's talk about constants here. So how do we declare a constant in Python? So parang ganun din sa C++. We usually use capital letter, no? So in Python, we can declare a capital something like that, no? 3.1416, for example, for the pi value, and for the gravity, we can put 9.8, no? Something like that. So we can associate something like that. So we can execute that, and then later we can call to identify what is the pi. So when we execute pi, you can see that the pi is 3.1416. And we can also create another file. Now, if you're using another Python file, I'm going to demonstrate that later na lang siguro, no? But because today we're using the Google Colab, some other time I'm going to show you that we can execute Python in a different approach, no? Not in the browser approach, but you can install something like a Visual Studio Code. So ang assignment nyo next week, try to install Visual Studio Code, no, in your computer. Okay? Para ma-appreciate natin how we can create a separate file and we can use to connect that file to another file, no? So, pwede kasi nating i-import yung isang file. Halimbawa, itong contents na to sinave natin sa isang file. Ang pangalan halimbawa, sinave natin siya into file and named it as, for example, constants.py. Yan, dyan natin sinave. So the moment na in-execute natin siya, i-import na lang natin yung constants, no? I-import lang natin yan. You can see na meron na tayong file na na-create. I-import na lang natin siya. And right now, you can see that it has an error, no? You can see that in Google Colab, if the line has a something like this, no? It has a mark, no? Below here na kumbaga sa Microsoft Word, this has a problem, no? This word has a problem because you can see here that in the help toolkit, it says the import constants could not be resolved because it's missing, no? It's because wala pa naman talaga tayong file na constants.file, no? But if we create a file inside the directory of this notebook, we can import this, something like that, no? And you can print something like this, no? Pwede natin siyang i-execute na ganito. Print and then constants dot py or print constants dot gravity. Yan. Sorry for the wrong spelling again. Yan. So pwede natin siyang i-execute ng ganito. Pero hindi to mag-execute, magkakaroon to ng error. It's because of this. So we are importing something na wala. So dapat i-save natin to as Python file before we can do that. So but basically pinapakita ko lang sa inyo pero we cannot execute it right now. All right? So again, remember that in Python's variables or constant, there will always be proper naming convention. So in naming convention, as we understood, the variables can be of any combination of letters and numbers. Letters muna tayo. In lowercase or uppercase. So, di ba? Yan yung natutunan natin. So, that means pwede tayong mag-create ng variable name or constant name in any type of letters, whether it is lowercase or uppercase. Number 2, we can also make use of any combination of letters, or we can also make use any combination with, we can start it with an underscore, right? So that's how we can create a variable name in the naming convention. We can also create, but there is a rule that if we try to create a name with sense. So meaning, wag kang magke-create ng variable na ang pangalan ay jowa ko, o asawa ko, o nobya ko, nobyo ko, o boyfriend 1, boyfriend 2, boyfriend 3, or girlfriend 1, girlfriend 2, girlfriend 3. That's nonsense, no? When you create a name for your variable, make sure that your variable name should be descriptive, no? That describes about your variable. For example, an example of this is temperature, something like that. Temperature is equal to 35 degrees. Yeah, that's an example. Or you can use, if you're using time, you can use t, no, as the time, which is equal to 2 hours, something like that. That's an example of how we create a name with sense. Okay, so never use special symbols in a variable name because that's not going to give sense, no? And finally, don't start your variable with a numerical digit. It's not allowed. So those are some of the examples on how we can actually name our variables, diba? So I hope that you understand this part of our lecture today. Okay, so moving on, I would like to discuss about literals. So Python has a topic called literals. So what are literals? Literals are a raw data given in a variable or a constant, no? For example, in Python, meron tayong numeric literals. Meron din tayong string literals. We will not be talking about other literals, no? Only this main literals and the Boolean literals. So ito lang muna yung pag-aaralan natin, itong tatlo na to. We have the numeric, the string literals, and the Boolean literals. So let's discuss one by one kung ano-ano ang mga to. First of all, when we talk about numeric literals, ang ibig sabihin ng numeric, so ito yung mga immutable, no? Pagka sinabi nating immutable, makinig kayo mabuti because medyo importante itong discussion na to. Immutable means we cannot change the value. Once na dineclare na natin siya as a variable, we cannot change the value. An example of this is an integer, yan, a float, or a complex number. Okay? That's an example of immutability of numeric literals. Okay? So, on the other hand, we can give an example of this. No? For example, let's try to give examples of numeric literals. So, of course, the basic one is the decimal numbers. No? Meron tayong decimal number, no, na pwede nating gamitin. Like in this case, gagamit tayo ng decimal numbers. No? For example, if you declare something like this, no, 100, sobra. That's a decimal, no? So kung ipiprint natin si A, that's a decimal number, correct? That's a decimal number. But there is also another example on how we can declare a numeric literal, no? You can also declare something like a binary number, no? For example, in letter B, this is a variable. I am just putting it inside a variable, no? I have a number here called 0B. So if you want to put a binary, no? For example, I want to put a binary of 1010. What is 1010? Actually, this is number 10, di ba? So if you were going to print the B, your output could be equal to 10 because this binary number symbolized by 0B, this means this is a binary literal, and 1010 is equal to 10. So if I'm going to change that to 1111, that's going to be 15. Diba? Because of the rule for 8421. Okay, 8421. If you understand that, that's basic binary computations. No? For not only that we have the decimal and the binary, we also have octal numbers. No? If you're familiar with octal numbers, so we can write an octal number similar to 0, and then we put letter C. C means, not C. We can put a small letter O pala. Okay? A small letter O, meaning that it's an octal. We can put 11, for example, as an example of an octal number. And what is the value of this variable? No? So you can see now that if I print this one, the value of 11 in octal is equal to 9. Because in octal, wala siyang number 8. Wala siyang number 9. No? Ang octal kasi, when we count it, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wala siyang 8. Wala siyang 9. But definitely, it has 1, 0. But 1, 0 is equal to 10. Okay? And you can see now that this is equal to, the octal 11 is equal to 9. All right? We can also use another symbol or another literal called the hexadecimal. No? Hexadecimal naman, ang symbol niya yung merong X, small letter X. So for example, bebe. Bebe is a hexadecimal, no? So if I try to print this hexadecimal bebe, so what is the meaning of bebe? So in decimal, it will be converted as 48,830. That's bebe, no? So pwede rin nating baguhin yan, gawin nating FACE. So ito naman yung value niya, 64,206. Or we can just put FA. This is the value, 250, something like that. Okay? So that's an example of numeric literals. Okay? We also have another example here. So let me show you an example of what we call a float literal. No? Float literal naman tayo. So I'm going to put a float literal here. So let me show you a float literal. So for example, I have a float 1 here as a variable. I'm going to place 10.5 and I'm going to write another float here, float number 2, and this will be equal to 1.5, and I'm going to use and this is equal to a scientific form of base 10 squared. Okay, so I can print this float 1 and float 2. So I can print two variables at a time, no? So you can see that I can use a comma here to print both of them here. So what will be the output? So the output is equal to the values. No? As you can see, this is 10.5 and this is 150. All right? So that's an example of float literals. We also have what we call complex literals, no? Yung complex, yung may complex number, di ba? Complex literal ang tawag doon. Yung ang format niya ay meron siyang imaginary number, real plus imaginary number. That's the composition of a complex number. For example, you have a variable x is equal to 3.14j. This is the so if you're going to print the real number, no? So pwede mong i-print yung real number niya. You can also print the imaginary number. You can also print the real number. No? So ano yung kanyang ano yung value ng x natin? The value of x is this one, no? It's equal to this. But what is the imaginary number composition and the real number composition? So pwede natin siyang i-print, and as you can see, 3.14j is the value of our variable x. The imaginary number here is 3.14, but we don't have a real number here. Okay, we don't have a real number here. But in another example, if I'm going to use, for example, here we have another x here. I have 2 plus 3j, for example. No? And after that, I'm going to copy this and place it here just to print both. No? So you will see here that x is equal to 2 plus 3.14j, similar to this. And our imaginary number is 3.14 because it is connected to the j symbol, which is the imaginary part. And 2 is equal to x. Okay, that's the real number. Okay, so I hope that you understand that. Now, Another kind of literal is what we call the string literal. A while ago, I've been using the string literal. No? For example, our course, let me make it small. Course is equal to CPE 009. All right. And this is a character. Maybe I can put J as a character. And also I can put a multi-line. Let's say multi na lang is equal to, I can use a triple quote. No? You can see I use a triple quote here to denote that this is a multiple string with more than one line code. And it reaches, let's say I can go from here, another line and another line, and I'm going to close it now. Okay, so if I try to basically print it, no, pag pinrint natin siya, oh wait lang, hindi pa pala natin na, so if I try to print the course, and print the char and print the multi. So let's see what happens no, kung ano ipiprint niya. So this is an example of printing a string, a character, and a multi-line. So we can print many things, no? We can print many things. We can also try to basically from what we understood, we don't only have string literals, but we also have what we call a Boolean literal. No? Boolean literal. So in Boolean literals, let's put an S because maraming klase yan. So ang Boolean literals, ito yung tinatawag na mga true and false. Di ba? Sa yung mga true and false na yan. So true or false, something like that. So basically, the answer could be a true or a false, no? So yun yung tinatawag na Boolean literal. So an example of that, so we can, for example, I have a code here. So I can just copy it. Copy ko na lang para mabilis ha. Pero explain ko naman to. Okay? So this is an example of Boolean literals. No? That means we are putting a statement here. No? This is a variable x. And the variable x here is telling us that 1 is equal to true. And y is equal to 1 is equal to false. Okay? So therefore, and we also have another variable here, which is equal to true plus 4 and false plus 10. So can we add a Boolean to another literal or to a numerical literal, something like that? And also this Boolean can be added to another numerical literal. So let's try, no? So we are printing a string, okay, and we are referencing it to a variable. So let's see what will be the output. So you can see that x is equal to true because 1 is equal to true. And y, 1 is equal to false, therefore it's equal to false. Okay? And then here, a here is equal to 5 because 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. And 10, if you add it to a false number, it's going to be 10. No? That means this is false. False, by the way, means 0. Okay? So you cannot if you add something from a false, then you are adding something to a zero number. Okay? We also have what we call, aside from Boolean literals, we also have, in case na may question kayo, I am not looking at the chat box, no? Baka nagtatanong kayo sa chat box. I cannot entertain you in the chat box, no? So, just use, but I can hear, if you raise your hand, I can hear it in my headset. So, I can be, my attention can be called using, if you raise your hand. Or you can use your microphone if you want to speak, if you want to ask something. Meron din tayong tinatawag na special literals. Okay? I think we're now getting to the last part of the topic, no? So, nasa last topic na tayo. Special literals naman. Ano ibig sabihin ng special literals? Meron tayong tinatawag na literals called special. Okay? An example of this is bread is equal to none. None is a keyword, as you can see. Ang kulay niya dito is violet or purple, same as the true and the false. So therefore, if true and false are special literals but considered to be Boolean literals, none is also a literal. But literal, which is a special literal. So that means itong none na to, no? If you can see from the tip, no? From the tip here, naglo-load siya ng tip, no, every time. You can see that none means nothing, no? None means nothing. So you can say, for example, we have the bread and the drinks, for example, here is equal to available. Okay? So I have a variable here called bread. And the value of bread is none, meaning we don't have any bread. But we do have drink, and it's available. So if you define a function, so this is basically the same as in creating a function in C++. No, we define a function, we use the keyword def, meaning define, and the name of the function follows. For example, the name of the function is menu. We create a variable inside it, that's called the parameter. Okay, and inside that it is followed by a colon symbol. Don't worry about that. No, I'm going to teach you how to create a function. Right now, I'm just showing you how to create a function. And when I press enter here, it is automatically indented. No, naka-indent siya. And then I'm going to create an if statement here. If statement that if x is equal to drink, okay, then what it does, it will print, as you can see, automatic na nag-indent na naman siya, it will print drink. Okay? But else, it will print bread. So what will be the output of this? So let's try to execute muna. So nakapag-create na tayo ng variable dito, dalawa. Below that, we also created a function. Now, let's try to call those functions. Now, using another line of code here, let's try to call the function by naming the function. And let's try to put the parameter bread. If it is bread, what it is going to print is none. You can see here, it's none because the value of bread is none. But if we use menu is equal to drink, you can see that it's available. Okay, that's basically how we interpret special literals, no, of using none. But basically, para lang masabi mo na you cannot use you cannot use a variable without anything, no? You cannot declare. Pagka in-execute mo to, magke-create yan ng error dito. You can see bread has nothing, no? It's an invalid syntax. So instead of defining a variable with nothing, just put none. Okay? So basically, ginagamit natin none to ignore the null value of a variable. Para sabihin ni Python, oops, may laman to pero wala. All right, so that's the meaning of none. How do we do that? No? Now, let's proceed with the last part of our topic, which is literal collections. So, ito na tayo, nasa literal collections na tayo. Nasa last part na po tayo. So let me just put it, literal collections. In literal collections, siguro mas maganda gamitin ko yung text. Yan. So let's show na ito yung ating literal collections. Number 1, meron tayong tinatawag na list. Number 2, we also have tuple. And then number 3, we have dictionary. And then we have set. Yan. As number 4. So let's try to interpret one by one what are the differences between these types of literal connections. So using the code, as an example, we will give some examples here. No? Magke-create tayo ng list. No? So when you say list, like any other list, it has contents. No? Meron tayong variable na i-declare. For example, fruits is equal to, pag nagde-declare kayo ng list, sorry ha. This is the first rule on creating a list. It should be encoded in between open and closed square brackets. So una kong ilalagay dito, maglalagay ako ng comment. So to create a list, use the symbol square brackets. So ginagamit ko square brackets. So meaning this is an empty list. So pag wala siyang laman, empty list yan. So lalagay ko dito this is an empty list. Pwede po tayo mag-create ng list na walang laman. So if I try to print this fruit, you will see fruits pala yan, sorry. So mali, no? So may error. Fruit is not defined kasi ang naka-define ay fruits. Okay, so if I try to run it, you will see that ang pinrint niya is also an empty list because we did not put anything on it. It's an empty list, as you can see. Alright? Now, we can also determine the type of data na meron tayo. You can see the type of data using the function type. You can see that it's a list, but although it's an empty list, it's considered to be a list because sabi ni Python, nung dineclare natin yung type, we are actually identifying what type of data type we have. No? The type of data that we have is a list, although it has nothing inside. Okay? Now let's try to put something inside our list. So we have fruits, and then followed by an open and close bracket. And then we put something inside. Now, for example, we can put apple as one of our fruits, and then banana, and then what? And we can have orange, for example. So if I'm going to print it, no? So print natin si fruits. So meron na siyang contents. Si apple, si banana, at saka si orange. Alright? So, yan po yung pag-create ng list natin. Alright? That's how we can create a list. Remember that a list is created by using the square brackets. Okay? Number 2, let's try to create a tuple. Ano naman ang tuple? Tuple is also a typical list. But the difference between a tuple and a list is this. So this is the difference. A list is mutable, while a tuple is, tuple is not mutable, or immutable. So ano ba ibig sabihin again ng mutable? Pag sinabi natin mutable, you can change it. So therefore, list can be changed. On the other hand, when you declare a variable as a tuple, you cannot change it. No? For example, I have a number here, and I'm going to put a tuple. And to create a tuple, I'm going to write here, use the symbol open and close parentheses to create a tuple. Yan. So gagamitin natin open and close parentheses, and I'm going to create some list here. And this is already a tuple. So you can see, pag ginamit natin yung type and number, and in-execute natin siya, sabi niya, oh, si number ay tuple. Okay? So let's try to print natin yung tuple natin. So you can see, when pinrint natin si tuple, that's 1, 2, 3. Okay? Right? That's a tuple. Now, another example here that we can create is how we can create a dictionary. So dictionary is different from a list in many sense, no? No, you will understand later kung ano yung dictionary. Now, to create a dictionary is a kind of list. It's a kind of list that has a key and a value pair. So ano ba ibig sabihin ng key and a value pair? So meron siyang partner. Meron siyang key, meron siyang value. So in other words, to create a dictionary, use an open and close curly brackets. So mapapansin nyo, sa symbol pa lang, marirecognize nyo na kung anong klase yung variable na yon na kine-create natin. Example, I have alphabets here, and I'm using open and close curly brackets. And inside that, I'm going to create the key and the value. I'm going to use A as the key, followed by a colon, meaning A is mapped to apple, and then followed by a comma symbol, meaning this is another key that I'm creating. Second key is B, which is equal to banana. And I have here the last key, which is equal to C, and C is equal to orange. So basically, kapag tinanong natin kung anong type ng variable si alphabets, sasabihin niya that's a dictionary. Yes, you can see, no? That's a dictionary. That's DICT. So if I print the alphabets here, so let's try to print the alphabets. You will see that the answer is A is to apple, B is to banana, and C is to orange. All right? So now you understand how to create a list, a tuple, and a dictionary. The final example is how to create a set. A set is a very different type of list because a set can contain multiple letters, multiple strings, no? And it could contain redundant or repeated words, no? And in order to create a set, you also use an open and close curly brackets pa rin. Ang pagkakaiba ng set tsaka ng dictionary, yung dictionary may pair, may pares-pares siya. Okay? But sa set, wala siyang pares. For example, I have a vowels as my variable here, and I use the open and close vowels, no? Now, if I try to print my vowels, no. If I try to identify the type of my data using vowels as my input, you can see that this is a set. This is a dictionary, by the way, no? But if I write here the contents of my set, for example, I'm using A, E, I, O, medyo mahirap, no? U, no? And then I can repeat the labels. For example, A, I have another A here, and I have another O here, something like that, no? And if I try to identify now my type, what does it say? It definitely says it's a set. But if I declared only an empty curly bracket, it will say that, oh, it's what you're doing is a dictionary. It's not a set. Okay, but if I put something like this, you can see it's a set. Now let's try to print the contents of the set. Okay. So how do we do that? So we issue the command print and then the vowels here. So you can see, what do we see? We only see 5 unique characters. So sa set, no matter how many characters you have, it will identify the unique characters inside it. So as long as you have the unique characters, we only have 5 unique characters here, right? So kahit na dagdagan mo to ng marami, it will only result to how many characters that you have. Okay? So, at ang maganda pa nito, pag pinrint mo siya uli, you can see sometimes it is randomly outputted, no? You can see here, it doesn't change, no? But you can see that the output is something like this, no? We have how many characters here? That's equal to 8, but it only outputted 5, no? Ibig sabihin, kahit marami kang A, isa lang yung i-output niya sa set pag pinrint natin siya. That's the definition of a set. And that's the end of the lesson of today, no? From the beginning to the literals that we have discussed. So if you have some questions po, you are free to ask po your questions, no, if you want. You have some questions po before we proceed with the deliverables. If you don't have any questions, please type 0. Okay, so that means these people na nagsabi niyan is that means wala kayong question na intindihan nila. Can I just ask Clarence Mirino? Naintindihan mo yung ating lesson, Clarence? Can you use your microphone, Clarence? I want to interview Clarence kasi if meron siyang natutunan today. Go ahead, Clarence. Yan. Okay, good morning. Taga saan si Clarence? Antipolo. So, saan sa Antipolo? Lower o upper? Clarence, narinig mo ko? So, I am asking kung saan ka sa Antipolo. Upper ba o lower? Oo nga, upper ba o lower? Bago lang kayo. So, saan ka sa Antip? Kasi galing kang Samar. Okay. So, si Clarence, ano address mo? Saan ka sa Antipolo? Kasi taga Antipolo kasi ko, kaya ako tinatanong. Dila pa sa taas yon sa upper. Ako naman, dito ako sa lower. Malapit ako sa Marikina. Yung pangalan ng barangay namin is Mayamot. Barangay Mayamot. Kayo yung Barangay de la Paz. Okay, anyway, welcome to Antipolo. Okay. So, yan. Okay, so thank you. Ano yung natutunan mo today sa ating topic? Hmm. Okay, that's good, no? Kasi ang importante, pag meron kayong background, mas maganda yan, no? Mas madali yung magagawa yung mga assignments nyo, no? Especially. Okay lang yun kasi yung pa lang naman yung aaralin natin. Okay? Don't worry, no? Kasi medyo madadali pa naman yung mga topics na ibibigay ko sa inyo. Okay? Thank you so much, Clarence. Okay. Anyone na gusto mag-share mag-share ng something, no? Sir, upload nyo po ba to sa YouTube? Bakit? Bakit ko i-upload sa YouTube to? Gusto mo bang i-upload ko sa YouTube to? Paano? Paano ko siya i-upload? Anyway, this is recorded and this will be kept for 2 weeks sa meron ba akong YouTube channel? Okay, alam pala ni Rainiel, no, na may YouTube channel ako. Okay, anyway, sige. Usually nga nag-upload talaga ako ng mga videos para sa mga classes ko. Minsan pag nare-record ko siya, no. So pwede naman nating i-upload. No, don't worry. Pwede ko siyang i-upload kasi sa nawawala, 'di ba? Sa Canvas nawawala siya after 2 weeks, burado na. Sayang naman yung diniscuss natin, 'di ba? Medyo malawak lang yung diniscuss natin pero may mga part kasi na kapaki-pakinabang talaga dun sa mga discussion natin. Okay? Yes. Ah, sige, sige, sige. Thank you. Pero hindi talaga commercialize yung YouTube channel ko na yun. Pang educational purposes lang talaga yun, ha. Kaya kakaunti lang ang subscriber ko pero hindi ko naman ini-aim na dumami yung subscriber ko kasi ang purpose ko lang talaga yung para sa mga students na gustong balikan yung mga lesson nila. Kung gusto nila mag-advanced study sila, meron din mga topics doon. Sige, i-upload natin to sa YouTube. Tingnan natin, no? Shout out sa inyo. Okay. ah, that's good, oh. Kasi sa Canvas nga nawawala, 'di ba? Yung sa BBB na nawawala yung record after 2 weeks kasi hindi naman tayo naka-premium. Okay, sige. Pakita ko na sa inyo before we end our discussion. Pakita ko na sa inyo yung gagawin nyo. You have 2 quizzes. One is for the introduction to Python na worth 10 points lang to. And another is also worth 10 points for the topic literals, variables, and operators. Ay, hindi pa natin na-discuss si operators, no? Siguro next time na lang. But the operators are very simple lang naman, no? If you can check it out on the internet, mas madali nyo ring, I just like to activate the quiz. Ipapublish ko siya. Edit muna natin yung date kasi May 2021 pa to. So, proceed tayo sa February. Ang deadline nito ay sa Monday, no? Ano bang petsa ngayon? 3, no? Sa Tuesday pala, Tuesday. So you have Saturday and Tuesday to do this, ha? So pag hindi nyo pa naman nagawa to, ewan ko na lang sa inyo. It's possible na nagkasakit kayo, na wag naman sana. Pero dalawang asynchronous schedule ang dadaanan nito. Okay? Kaya wala kayong dahilan para hindi niyo magawa ito. Okay? So yan po yung inyong quiz number 1. Quiz number 2, this one. Change lang din natin yung date. Oh, remember the date ha, February 8 po ha, yung inyong, yung inyong due date. Save and publish. Yan. So, dalawang quiz yan. Tapos, isang hands-on activity. Okay? So makikita nyo dito kung paano ko kayo gigradean dito sa rubric na to. And ang gagawin nyo rito, ida-download nyo muna tong PDF na to. Itong lab activity number 2. Tapos, meron kayong template na pwede nyong i-open sa Jupyter Notebook or sa Google Colab. Papakita ko sa inyo mamaya, no? Halimbawa, din-download nyo na to. So, da-download ko siya, ha? Yan. Tapos, babalik ako doon sa na-download ko na siya, 'di ba? So, babalik ako doon sa Google Colab natin kanina. So, paano nyo i-upload ngayon yung template na yon? So, click mo lang yung file and then upload notebook. Tapos choose a file. Yan. Tapos punta ka sa download folders mo. Makikita mo dyan yung download folders. I-open mo lang siya at i-upload na siya dito. You can see that this is the template. No? What's happening? Naglo-load pa lang siya. So let's just wait. No? Kung naglo-load pa lang siya, hintayin natin. Yan, okay. So this is the activity. Dito nyo gagawin yung activity, no? At ito rin yung ipapasa nyo po sa akin. Okay. So yan yung gagawin nyo. So gagawin nyo siya dito. Yan, make a program that takes this, something like that, based doon sa PDF na dinownload ninyong instruction. Pero dito nyo gagawin. Okay? Dito nyo gagawin siya. Pati supplemental activity. So remember that I'll be grading your performance here plus supplementary activity. So kasama po ang supplementary activity and your conclusion. Create a very nice report on this. All right? So I'm going to go back to the instruction. Punta tayo sa instruction, no? Saan na ba instruction natin? Where is my instruction? Here. Yan, dito tayo. Yan. Okay, this is my instruction. As I was saying, ida-download nyo muna tong variables na to, itong PDF na to, kasi doon nyo susundan yung assignment nyo. Pero, ito yan siya. Ganyan yung itsura niya, no? Ito yon. So, i-perform nyo yung mga nandito, and then yung output, doon nyo ilalagay sa Jupyter Notebook. Okay? Now, sabi dito, convert your notebook into PDF file and submit the PDF to the link. So remember na ang i-accept lang nating file type ay PDF. So hindi nyo na ipapasa sa akin yung notebook nyo, yung IPyNB. Hindi nyo na ipapasa yon. Anong ipapasa nyo sa akin? Yung converted notebook into PDF. The question is, sir, paano po mag-convert ng notebook file into PDF? Now, before I do that, let me just arrange this. edit ko lang muna to, no? Yung date. Same same due date doon sa quizzes ninyo, ha? And save and publish, no? Okay, I'm now going to present you how you are going to create the tawag dito, the notebook into Jupyter Notebook. So sana makita nyo siya, no? Siguro i-share ko yung buong screen ko na lang, no? Share ko na lang yung entire screen ko. Ayan, nakikita nyo na yung entire screen ko? Ayan. Okay, so punta tayo dito sa Jupyter Notebook ko. So kunyari, ito yung Jupyter Notebook mo. Iko-convert mo na siya. Nasagutan mo na siya, kompleto na. Naayos mo na siya, na-organize mo na, na-check mo na rin. So before you submit, click File and click Print. Yung pinakababa, no? Click mo lang, Print. Tapos lalabas tong dialog box na to, Save as PDF. Very simple, di ba? So check mo muna kung kompleto. Baka merong mga hindi kasama sa printing na ginawa mo, no? And then click Save. So automatically it will be saved into into a download folder, no? Kahit na anong operating system ang gamit nyo, it doesn't matter, no? So basta click nyo lang save, and then makikita nyo rito it's now converted into PDF, no? So I can open now my PDF. So i-open natin siya. So ito siya. Sorry. Makikita nyo na yung notebook nyo is converted into a Colab.pdf, no? So pag inopen ko siya, ganito itsura niya. So double click ko siya, you can see now that the PDF na sinabit nyo, ganito na yung itsura. Hindi na siya notebook, PDF na siya. But it was printed using the iPy notebook, o yung Google Colab natin. Alright? Any question po? Question before we end our discussion and our meeting today? Any question po? Kung walang question, type 0. Okay, I'll see you next week for our next meeting. I am hoping that you learned a lot from today's discussion. Thank you so much for your interactions, for your participation, for your kind attention, and for listening. Thank you and bye-bye.